Yeah.
I like to do programs that myself I would like to go and listen. That is the first thing when I do the programming. The other thing that I had from the very beginning was to have musicians from the two parts of the ocean to meet together. I also had the idea of having always some young players, and through the playing together somehow receive from them the freshness of their youth, but also give them the experience of their age. The idea of the program is always to have the big masterworks of chamber music and the beautiful and important works of chamber music that are seldom played.
Yeah, I think I want to hold it a little bit. I think it runs ahead after we start.
Okay, let's just make it.
Maybe we are.
Restarting. I mean, I would really start.
Start has to be
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to push it, but I'm having a hard time getting a sense of the tempo from the first bar. So could we just do? Could we do the first one on the first page?
Maybe before, or it's getting into it. Isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean the first one.
In 1489, Queen of Cyprus Caterina Cornaro abdicated her throne and retired to Asolo, Italy. There she resided in the Asolo Castle. Caterina brought with her a passion for the arts and science. In 1798, a theater was built within the walls of the castle. By 1929, the theater was disassembled while the interior decoration was stored in a warehouse. In 1949, it was bought by Ringling Museum's first director, Chick Austin. It was this tie to the Old World and Asolo, Italy, that would inspire the creation of LaMusica International Chamber Music Festival in Sarasota, Florida. The festival began 2 decades ago when Bruno Girana, Derek Hahn, and Judy Sherman had the dream to bring the renowned Asolo Music Festival of Asolo, Italy, to the United States.
I had a festival in Asolo, Italy, and I also knew that the Asolo theater, the theater from Asolo, had been transposed from Asolo to Sarasota. So the first reaction I had when I started the festival in Asolo, Italy, was to bring that music in the original theater, who happened to be in Sarasota.
Well, at the time, I was living in Asolo as well, as Bruno still does. And now I've moved here, so there was something, very special about knowing that the original theater from Asolo was here, and it was, as Bruno points out very often, a sort of sense of bringing music home.
One sunny afternoon in the fall of 1985, the three paid a visit to Piero Rivolta at his home in Sarasota, Florida. They were hoping to find a kindred spirit, a music lover, and a supporter to help turn their dream into a reality.
We knock on the door, ring the doorbell. Piero opens the door, says, "Hello," and I begin speaking to him in Italian. Piero's face just sort of freezes, his jaw drops.
I open the door and see this Chinese American, and they start to talk to me in Italian with a perfect Italian accent, and I said, what is going on here? Chinese American who speaks Italian like me, not with American accent, no. He speaks perfect Italian, not like I speak English, no. And that was really something that also impressed me, you know.
And it was really one of the funniest things just to see his face, and that really broke the ice right at the very beginning.
Over a good bottle of Italian wine, the group began to develop the plan which would lead to one of the most successful and distinguished chamber music festivals.
We came here in this very room, around this very table, and they started as strangers, and in 5 minutes, less, they were friends, and the enthusiasm bubbled.
To talk with Bruno is very easy because he's enthusiastic and I'm enthusiastic, so in a few minutes, you know, we built up a certain enthusiasm and we feel that we knew each other for a long time.
I can't tell you how many people I talked to, oh yeah, that's a nice idea, but we're not interested in any way in getting involved. And his response was quite different. Come talk to me.
I thought it was a fantastic idea to reorganize the old way to do chamber music, to bring people from over the world and play together and be part of the little community that they come and they go away. So that was something that fascinated me.
Of course, as with any fledgling artistic endeavor, there were challenges. How would the community of Sarasota, known for its art and culture, respond to a new organization?
The big problem was to find a board or somebody that want to help us, and we didn't find too much. So practically, and Julie, she was in New York, so she was not around the corner. So for many years, for a certain number of years, was kind of a solo, they said on newspaper. I used all my people in my office. They didn't anything about music, so it was not very easy to explain what they have to do.
Well, in the early years, we were always in the red, and I can remember the board meetings after the concert series, and Piero and I would sit down and the other board members, and mostly at that time we had a small board, and basically it was Piero and myself and eventually Sally Farron and some other folks. And we'd sit down and Piero would say, well, we're in the hole again. Who's going to pay this bill? And Piero would put the bills on the table and he'd say, I'll pay this one. And I'd say, okay, Piero, I'll pay that one. And someone else would say, I'll pay this one. And Piero would say, I'll pay that one. And that's the way it went for the first few years of our existence.
Slowly, the people start to believe in us, and we found Sally Farron. That really she put everything in line perfectly, and now we have a very good board.
The first series of concerts was given in January and February 1987.
I have one memory of the very first notes of the very first piece on the very first program. I was standing between Derek and Dan Avshalomov. We just grabbed each other's hands and held on. It was a thrill to hear the first concert is finally here.
Adding to the tradition of chamber music as it was originally played, the founders decided to include the rare element of opening all rehearsals to the public. New College's generous contribution of rehearsal space meant the dream of open rehearsals could be realized from the very first season.
It is like an open-air laboratory in that all the performances are prepared in front of the public.
And especially in the first part, there are so many parts that have to be shaped because we fall from one phrase to the other one without any it's like a big minestrone. No? How was it?
It can, from my mind, it can be much smoother.
Smoother.
Quick.
I just see.
How about if we just come down once you come in?
Yes, let's establish it. Yeah.
Very often you have at least 3 or maybe even all 4 people that arrive with their own ideas, and because they have played it or because they've studied it. And it is fascinating how by playing together, gradually the things get so harmonic. These differences go away, they get smooth, and you get to the moment where you feel that there is one single focus.
Ah, that one you took. Okay.
Otherwise it was really a very good, it's difficult to do this together, the three of us. Okay. Where should we start? Can we start before F? Before F.
4 bars, that would be 180, 189.
Yes.
4 bars.
I find that when I first come here for my first rehearsal, the fact that there's an audience here makes us, I think, be a little bit more on our toes. Certainly the people that reside in Sarasota are unique in this kind of community. I mean, it's a crowd of people that are real music lovers who, a lot of them spent their careers in orchestras, who know music from the inside out. They come with scores. They know what they're listening to, and I think the fact that there is an involved audience for all of the rehearsals makes us pay attention in a way from the very first rehearsal that maybe wouldn't happen without that.
Comes a little bit too soon.
Yes, and I would not mind if they somehow play this beginning of this sfugato, because it cannot be no.
Usually they spell the whole bit.
Let's play 4 bars before G.
I don't think he has to worry as much about the downbeat as the rest of us.
No!
Yeah, that's right. Don't worry.
We upbeat and we do the rest.
Can I ask one question just before we get there? The fugue, da 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 da. How are we playing this? A3 on the string, long, short, up.
As far as
I mean, if we're going to hold the tempo, then more like that.
Bring it a bit heavier.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks.
Okay, it's the first beat of the bar.
1. I find it incredibly static. Tiny bit of that because otherwise it's really sitting down.
Okay.
I think this is a very unique experience. I've never come across anything like this anywhere in the world where I've played. I certainly feel that I get tremendous support from the audience, and it's much more immediate, obviously because they're sitting there and they really want you to do well.
When we're rehearsing, for us it is really such an intense process with the music that the presence of the audience isn't something that really bothers us, because we're all really looking as musicians to really find the intentions of the composer, find what makes this music move us, what emotions we have when we are playing this music, and how to best bring them to the public.
With open rehearsals established from the very beginning, the festival developed a loyal following. In 1990, LaMusica performed its series in the Oslo Theater on the grounds of the Ringling Museum.
It happens to me to live in a town in Italy which is Oslo, from where this theater has originated. So that was when I had a festival there, I thought the most obvious idea was to bring that music here.
Chamber music has an immediacy that sometimes is lost when people listen to large orchestras. Chamber music is my favorite kind of music because I can hear every instrument and know what it's saying.
Well, it's a sort of a strange feeling to be playing in the theater of a town that's 4,000 miles away, but there's a sort of sense of being at home here.
Following the series at the Oslo, LaMusica was invited to be in residence at the University of South Florida New College for rehearsals and lectures.
The other way could be, for instance, to have, if the phrase requires it, to have the same attitude that we have when, for instance, we tell a story to young children. We are not certainly going to say, oh, you know this, but you know what happened, and our voice would change.
In that period, the festival would find that the beloved Oslo was too small for its growing audience and moved to the Sarasota Opera House.
It worked out beautifully for the Opera House because we had space in our calendar that we could work them in, and we certainly did and enjoyed it, and we're proud to have them. It added to the importance of the Opera House.
With an eye to the future, LaMusica began a student outreach program with special rehearsal performances by festival musicians.
Now, who has the violin? Can you tell? Point. Is it the lady or the man? Oh, I heard the man. All right, both of you hold up your instruments so they can see the size. It's the lady. Yeah. You know, grown-ups make that mistake too because the viola is not that much bigger. It's really not. Back in the old days, they didn't have big places like this. So people would play music just in somebody's house. And so that's how they got the name chamber music, because a chamber was a small room that people would perform in.
Other highlights included a collaboration with the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, the addition of a 5th festival concert, and in 1996, a celebration of its 10th anniversary and the commissioning of a work for the occasion. LaMusica began its second decade with 4 of its musicians invited to open the chamber music season at La Scala in Milan. LaMusica also began a thematic excursion exploring the ways in which music relates to other art forms and movements. In 1998, there was a collaboration with the Sarasota Ballet of Florida. A program was developed with the Ringling School of Art and Design for student art shows and poster contests. Up to this time, the promotional posters had been created by Renzo Rivolta.
At LaMusica, since the beginning, we were interested in exploring what creativity could be between any form of art, La Musica and any other form of art. In the past we did it with ballet, and so we decided to do this poster competition to explore the creativity of painters. And some of the Ringling School of Art and Design's teachers agreed to make a class project with this.
There's a theme that is addressed each year. In recent years, the theme has involved the relationship between music and the other arts. The theme of this year's poster is the 20th anniversary of La Musica, and this year's winner was Gene Shurikov, who is from Russia.
My inspiration was the music. It was the classical elements and the age when Mozart lived in, the classical French. I wanted to come up with something festive, happy, and whimsical. I wanted to interpret Florida by using some of the seashells and the colors of April, which is spring. It was a privilege and honor to be involved in the competition.
La Musica's commitment to new music and to expanding the chamber music repertoire has led to premiering works by Robert Beezer and commissioned works from Giampaolo Braccali, Joel Wallach, Guido Turchi, Yehudi Weiner, and Dick Hyman. For the 2005 season, Dick Hyman was once again commissioned to create a composition that would honor an early board member of La Musica, Alfred Islan. The piece, titled Danzas Tropicales for Sextet, was based on the countless rhythms found in Latin American dance music.
The inspiration was to do something that would be in strong contrast with anything else that was likely to be on the program. I wanted it to be very rhythmic in a way that Mozart and Beethoven are not. And therefore, I wanted it to be something in strict dance rhythms. And that's why I started it out with a percussionist playing on triangle in the Brazilian manner. I have a really revolutionary idea. Instead of playing it as a rumba, try it as a samba. That sounds good. Yeah, a slow.
The 2 weeks that make up LaMusica International Chamber Music Festival are filled with enthralling moments of musical mastery. Audience members continue to experience the recreation of great compositions along with new works. Musicians, audience, and students all learn together. Through the years, the community has fully embraced LaMusica International Chamber Music Festival.
Chamber music is different than a symphony. In chamber music, you sit, you see the expressions of one artist and the cueing of their expression to another artist, and the way this is performed is such an intimate and colossally important cultural art form in this area.
We've been a sponsor of LaMusica since the beginning. Since it first existed, we've recorded every year. And a couple of years ago, we started having live music on our air at the radio station. It's a rare opportunity for all of our listeners to hear some extraordinary musicians playing extraordinary music.
However, it is not all hard work and seriousness. Each year, guests are invited to attend the annual Meet the Musicians dinner from the very site of the festival's beginning. Piero and Rachele Rivolta host an evening of fun, good food, and happy times. Picnics, barbecues, and beach parties enliven each festival season. Sonata a Due each December brightens the months between successive seasons.
These are 2 pieces which he wrote for his own use. Pensiero, which is literally brooding, I would say. He broods quietly for a while, and then there's this storm in the middle, and at the end, there's that rarest meteorological manifestation in the British Isles, a glimpse of the sun.
Still, it is the music and the opportunity to be a part of something unique that brings together the musicians and audiences in such an intimate manner and keeps them coming back year after year.
I find that the most important is to have some very good players, but more than that, some very good human beings. There is no room for egos. Everybody has to be a very good chamber musician. And then there is a balance between the amount of old faces that audience like to see again and again, and new faces that they like to see. I like to give shocks. So in each concert I like to have very different pieces in the same program.
What began as a love of music and a desire to bring the historic and spiritual sensitivity of chamber music to the Sarasota community has grown beyond all early expectations. The year 2006 marks the 20th year of LaMusica International Chamber Music Festival. As we mark this sentinel date, we look forward to the next 20 and the continued devotion to the presentation of this genre in its purity.
There is this dream of bringing that music in that theater. And then this dream becomes a reality. And it is a reality that is not, it happened 5 minutes. No, it is a reality that lasts 20 years. And this is something that amazes me and makes me full of joy and full of gratitude.
LaMusica was created following the old concept of the chamber music. different musicians coming from different parts of the world with different experience, different training to get together and play, make music. And after they go back to their normal life. Every year we invite approximately 20 musicians. 50% of them are master musicians. The other one are young performers, very talented. And we are very delighted, most of them after a few years they became master musicians also. So having such a number of musicians here, we can make different configuration of quartet, quintet, sextet, you know. So each one has a possibility to play with a different one. So they have different experience and they can reinvent each time their performance here in Sarasota. That for me is the reason why this music festival is very alive and unique and sparkling. And every year we have the proof of that.
I think there are 4 reasons this festival has been successful. The first, of course, has to be the musicians and the wonderful quality of musicians. The second, the brilliant programming that Bruno has done and his openness to suggestion. The third is a board of directors. And the fourth is the wonderful broad base of support that we have from our audience. They are knowledgeable about music. They come to support us not only physically, financially, and spiritually, if you will. They are interested in us. They keep us going. They make it important for us every single day.
Yet it is more than a love of music that LaMusica strives to impart. It is their hope through these chamber music performances to teach all people, young and old, that no matter the differences in language and ethnicity, music speaks with a universal tongue, and that the democratic nature of chamber music performance, a confluence of equals, sets a standard to which all peoples and nations should aspire.
I find it so amusing, so fun, such a fun to play